Hello and welcome to session one of Strixhaven, School of Mages. This is a setting that is based on the Magic the Gathering card set that came out. And then pretty rapidly after the set came out for this Magic School, they came out with a D&D supplement for it. I love Magic Schools. And I adore the concept. I love them very much. And any chance to reclaim the world of Magic Schools from the HP woman is very, very, very good. So this session is part of the Gauntlet gaming calendar. The Gauntlet is an online gaming club / community. You can find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. We do a lot more indie and OSR and story games, but we're trying to do some other things to try those out. All of our sessions are run using safety tools. Now, if you're watching this and you have a physical reaction to the idea of safety tools, stop watching. Turn this off right now and go away, because that's what we do here. Just want to get that established. Again, my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him. Once we get the characters established, I'll have them do introductions, have the players do introductions. What's going to happen now is we're going to be talking some logistical stuff. I'm going to do the setup, and then we're going to be doing some of the character creation things. I will mark in the show notes the point at which we actually get to playing, because I know sometimes people watch these videos and they're like, why do we have to watch character creation? I enjoy this part, but I'll put that in the time code so you can jump forward should that be your thing. So here at the Gauntlet, we use a number of different tools to help calibrate and get things set between the players and the GM and players in the game. The first of these we use is CATS. It's CATS document. That's concept, approach, tone, and then I use safety as my S for that. So our concept is that we have students who have some magical skill. They are young adults. In terms of age, we're picturing sort of high school seniors, young freshmen. These are people who have trained in some magic, in their home lives. They've learned some things. They're going to be starting out at second level, but they're going to Strixhaven, which is the grand college of magic in this world. It is the greatest college of magic, and it is a world where there are all kinds of magical events going on in it. You are arriving for this first year in this wondrous school of magic, but there are strange things. There are strange secrets, and there's maybe a sense that something weird happened last year, and there's a new acting headmaster and stuff like that. And so there's some weirdness that's going to be going on, but you're not like high school freshmen. You're young adults. And so consider that with our characters. So our aim, our approach here is that you've trained before, but really this is the big time. This first year is a little bit claustrophobic in that you're going to be in these kind of dorms that are located on sort of the main campus here. But there's the promise of these amazing colleges that are out there, the Silver Quill and Lowerhold and all these wonderful things that eventually you can go to. But for right now, you are there in these dorms. We're going to set it such that each of you knows at least one of the other PCs, and you'll get to establish and pick some NPCs. In actual play, we will play out class lives. We'll figure out extracurricular activities. There'll be school events, and there'll be some weird mysteries, like things that you have to figure out that maybe it's unusual, but maybe you have inside knowledge of it. Maybe other people aren't seeing this. And it's going to be that kind of cycle. There is a semester cycle they have in the Strixhaven book. We're going to play a little bit with that. Imagine this 8 sessions that we're doing is kind of a book 1, year 1 kind of deal, where that's how I'm picturing it. There are roles for tests, and you get things for doing well on your tests here. It's kind of a wild thing. The Strixhaven book has a like a little report card format. I haven't quite set that up, but I may establish that at some point. Tone wise, you're young people, but not kids. This is a place with some challenges and some dangers. I take a page from Tales from the Loop and Things from the Flood, in that there are adults around, there are authority figures around, but they're not helpful. They don't believe you. They have other things they want to do. They have other obligations. If you go to them with your problems, maybe they'll help, but maybe they'll make things worse. So you want to keep that in mind. In the book, the D&D book for Strixhaven is presented very much for color. It's very bright. It's got a lot of wonder to it, but not as much threat. I'm adding a little bit more darkness than perhaps the book has. It's a little less Disneyfied, perhaps. Mine is a little bit darker and maybe a little bit more threatening. A lot of elements I'm borrowing from some earlier magical school games that I've run to flesh things out. Now, that having been said, to help us provide that we can play in that space well, and because we haven't necessarily played with one another on a regular basis, we have a layered set of safety tools that we are using. We are first, beyond the cats that we're establishing to calibrate things, we are using lines and veils. You should have access to that on the keeper. A line being anything that we have a hard line that we do not want to see at the table. That's not something we want to have in play. A veil being anything that, should it come up, we're going to fade to black, or we're going to refer to it as a distance, those kinds of things. And then we also have ask first. Ask first being like, okay, that's interesting, but I do want to check in before we do that topic. So throughout the character creation process, feel free to go through and mark those things on there. And when we come to introductions, when we come to sort of going over things, I will stop and check that this is a living document. Feel free to add to that. If there are other things that are not listed there on the lines and veils tab that you want to add in, please feel free to add those at the bottom. That's the sort of the baseline. That helps us establish some shared boundaries ahead of time. In play, we're going to be using the X card. X card is a way to mark out content that you find objectionable, that you find problematic, that you find wildly off tone. And you can say X card, or you can do the safety gesture to mark out X card. Either one of those works. You don't have to justify your use of the X card. The only thing is we might ask, like, where do we need to go back to cut to make that right for you? We are flexible about that. The X card is a good thing to use, especially if maybe we've started to lean in towards something that we've marked with a line or a veil and we haven't quite caught it. That's a good time to X card, to say, hey, I'm going to X card that. I think we're heading towards something we've got marked out here. So that's a good place to use that. And it's also, if you find that someone's approach to play in terms of maybe barging in on your scenes or things like that, you can X card to kind of mark that we need to stop and calibrate like how play is going. That's another thing we could do. And then the last thing is that we use an open door policy, which means that should you need to step away for whatever reason, need to leave for emotional reasons, for physical reasons, whatever, you're welcome to step away. If you can tell us that you're going to be back or not back, that's great, but you're not under any obligation. The additional part to that open door is this. If at the end of this session, you're like, that is not a game I want to play in. If you walk away from this session going, that's not what I expected, that's not what I wanted, that's not what I'm in the mood for, it is legit to not come back. Say, hey, I'm going to open door out. It is reasonable to do that. You should never feel obligated to play in a game that you're not enjoying. You should always have that ability to leave should you need to. So before I kind of come to talking about characters. Are there any questions or anything anybody wants to say about tone or anything out there before I move forward too much? I have talked quite a bit there in a very short span of time.
What are you picturing the age to be for our students?
Yeah, so I'm picturing like high school senior to like a freshman college, which is that kind of weird of the high school senior comes out of things thinking they know everything, and the college freshman realizes how little they know. But it's that kind of age range.
I recall in the email you wrote like 18 to 24 or something like that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think the younger range of that, but I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so in my mind, I'm like, I know D&D like gives different ages to different races because that's science fiction and fantasy for you. So in my mind, when you write 18 there, may not necessarily mean literally 18. You just mean 18 for that species.
Exactly. Whatever 18 means for an elf or an owlin or whatever person species you are from.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Common years.
Yes. So what I'd like to do is check in with each of you now. I'm going to kind of go around and see where you're at, just mechanically kind of talk with you and see if anybody needs help on the leveling up and those kinds of things. I'll do that kind of check through, and then we'll go and do some introductions. So I'm going to go and look at this list of characters that we have here up at the top. Okay. So character 4, Cisco.
I just loaded it, so I think you should see it now.
All right. So Wolfie Constantinus. So you decided to go with a cleric?
I did.
Okay. And what is your background?
I'm a human.
Okay.
And I picture my character having served at the temple of their deity. I think it's a family business. And I picture that there was some covenant done with a deity, maybe generations ago. And my family sort of has access maybe to this cleric magic, but maybe not like actual faith. Like maybe they just are going through the motions, and but the deity is like honoring, their covenant.
So you've got your character set up for your level 1 here, right? So it's doing that thing where it's not letting me see the characters. Let me refresh the thing. Come on, give me just a second. I do. Roll20 has gotten better. By the way, if you find that all of those pictures, the nameplates down at the bottom are kind of getting in the way of your seeing, the way that you can change that is the settings gear. If you go there and go to the audio and video, and then choose video display, you can set your player video / avatar size. I usually set to names only. Okay. All right. Okay. There we go. Finally, it is reloading for me. Very slowly. Maybe I shouldn't have this big graphic in the background on the loading page there. So if you go to your character sheet, open that up, and you'll see up at the top, it has experience points next to your alignment. if you go in, click on that and type in 201 and then hit return.
Okay.
It should then, let's see,
Was it
allow.
maybe 301?
Oh yeah, you're right, 301.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's try 301. Aha.
Here we go.
That's a little button. Okay.
And then-
Should I just follow the instructions here?
Yes, if you do that, that should give you the instructions on how to level up your character.
Sweet.
Of course, I say that, but I'm trying to do it on my sheet. It's not letting me do that.
Okay.
Was that let you make those choices?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Let's come to Alphonse Fonzie Leodon. Who is that?
So Alphonse is a legacy student. Their parents both teach at Strixhaven, though they've never been a very favored child of theirs. So Alphonse is unlikely to be able to run to their parents for any kind of help while attending. Luckily for Alphonse, who lacked any natural wizardy talent of their own, they do have a great uncle from a few generations back, who is a demi-lich who is helping them along just a little bit. So this uncle was a bit of a prankster during his time at Strixhaven, and is compelling Alphonse to take up that prankster class clown kind of manner, while adding in a little bit of necromantic flavor to it.
Okay. Okay. So human or
Half elf.
half elf? Okay. And you were also having the issue where it wasn't giving you the ability to.
Yeah, I've entered in the experience points. Oh wait, something's hovering over here. Character master level up.
Okay,
There it is.
good.
It wasn't there for a very long time. Okay.
I also found next to like core bio spells, there's that little cog.
Mhm.
And down at the bottom right, they have a link to the level up as well, or the character mancer level up.
Okay, good.
And I know that you opened everything by saying that if we feel like we've made suboptimal changes, we're welcome to change our character in a future session.
Absolutely.
My own personal style is if I've made optimal changes, then I'm likely to want to change and pick something a little bit more suboptimal.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm in the suboptimal camp as well. So
Excellent.
I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm trusting myself to just have picked suboptimally. So
Excellent. I am with that across the board. And then Talon, is that you, Matthew?
I was muted.
Fair enough.
Yes, that is I.
Okay. And so you've taken a sorcerer with the
Yeah.
Owlin, with the Draconic Bloodline. Ooh, interesting. And
What is Alphonse again?
Hmm?
Sorry, you were saying.
Oh, Alphonse is a half elf.
Mhm.
And then you should be able to go under experience and type in 301 there and hit
Here.
return and see if that works. Yeah. And that should give you a little thing you can click to do a little icon next to 301 You can click on to
Oh, their character monster level up.
Yep.
Teeny tiny little button.
yes,
Looking like a forge or whatever.
yes.
Yeah, level up. So I roll the HP. Do I hit roll or average or?
It's your choice. How daring do you feel?
I roll. That's a 4. I don't know what the hot maximum die was that for that was, but I'll take it.
Okay.
And then after rolling HP, we're not multi-classing, so just next.
Okay.
No new features except for the source 3 points and flexible casting. Hit points are now 13. So I can add one new spell and replace another spell. Got it.
All right. And then Fen Oakenshade, tell us about like you are what class and what people are you from?
I am a furbold. Let me pull up the character sheet. And I come from a family of druid furbolgs. I was thinking, I don't know, I kind of, when I started, I wanted to be from Sigil, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think we're from some grove somewhere that's probably pretty close to the Feywild. And unlike the rest of my family, I've really gotten into this death and rebirth thing,
Mm-hmm.
and taken after the Circle of Spores.
There's a fun path for the druid.
Yeah.
Tell me, since we have this is a world that we're exploring, what do the Fearbolgs look like? Like, how tall are they? How are you picturing their appearance?
Yeah, so I think that they are larger than your average humanoid, but not substantially. So I think that you probably see their shoulders and head above all the other humanoids.
Okay.
So maybe 10 or 11 feet tall, but not ridiculously tall. I do like them with the blue skin and a little bit furry that compared to your average clean cut humanoid. And I think they do probably manifest different aspects of Fae. In our case, I kind of like the classic funky ears that you see with the D&D
Mhm.
material that's been released. But I would not be surprised to find furbolds that manifest their Fae side in other ways.
Is the fur for the Fearbolg, does it differ from Fearbolg to Fearbolg, or is it a particular kind of fur that they have them? Is it more bristly or curly or cat or dog, or how are you picturing that?
That is a great question. I think that it's kind of woolly mammoth-esque.
Okay.
And um, I think that depending on the environment, you'll have some with more and less fur.
Mhm.
And we come from a kind of uh, not tropical environment by any stretch. There's winter, so we've got a decent fur coat.
Okay.
But you can definitely see like eyes and probably a little bit. Oh, what's that? Sasquatch-esque in the just fur everywhere else.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And it seems you were able to get yourself leveled up to 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. All right. So mechanically, we're all set with people's. Now I'm going to come back around to that same order. And now I'm going to get full introductions from you. I'm going to ask questions. We get that established, and then we'll talk relationships. So let's come back up to Wolfgang, to Wolfie. Oh, Cisco, do you want to say something about in terms of people speaking to the camera and so on? I know that.
Thank you so much for reminding me. Lol, I didn't play in February, and now I completely forgot how to do Gauntlet stuff, apparently, after 1 month. But yeah, you guys, I struggle with a little bit of hearing loss. So when I remember, I send out as part of the email, like, if you do cameras, please do cameras, but you guys all have your cameras, and that's awesome. And so I rely on speech or lip reading a little bit, and then I also have like my volume way up. So thank you, Lowell.
Yeah,
That's so
I just
awesome
wanted to,
that
yeah,
you
I think that's
remembered.
so important that we have that out there. So so if we, again, Cisco, if you need me to repeat anything, don't feel free, don't feel bad about stopping and having me repeat. Okay.
I really appreciate that.
So yeah, tell us about Wolfgang.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that Wolfgang comes from a family of people who serve at the temple, and I think he like started asking a lot of questions about the deity, and I think it bothered some of the priests there. But he has like a true faith, like true curiosity. And I think one of his parents was like really annoyed with all the questions, and the other parent was like, maybe Strixhaven has the answers for him. Like maybe he can find that true connection to our deity there. That's how I landed here. I think Wolfie has a really big name, and he's a really small guy. I just watched Titan AE, and there's almost like this bespectacled kind of like turtle-like character who's small and kind of looks like a mouse a little bit. Yeah. And that's kind of how I picture him. And so I picture that like him and Fen walking around probably make quite a comical pair.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Uh,
So yeah.
and you took life domain for
I
your,
did.
so like tell me about this deity that you follow, like just some basic things, like are they a god or a goddess, or multi-gendered, is it about healing, is it about life, is it about fertility, like what do you imagine for that?
I think the deity that I picked is favored by like thieves and pirates and that sort of like kind of like shady folk.
Okay.
But it's because they started praying to this god like every time they would get stabbed, or every time something would go back or something would go bad. So he's currently like a god that like has a rich history and just being like maybe like a god of goodness and healings and hospitals and that sort of thing, but also maybe now has a bad rep with like the hooded type also, like, yeah.
So they've built up a portfolio of followers that have kind of changed the general perception of the god. Like, let me ask you this: you're coming here to Strixhaven. Is this a big journey? Is your temple at a nearby city, or are you from further away? What are you imagining?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably far enough that it's inconvenient to travel, but close enough that like my parents could pop in at any time
Okay.
and cause problems.
And do you have siblings?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think I'm probably like the youngest of 7.
Okay. And I assume none of them have gone to Strixhaven.
No, they're all like in the family business, like actively working at the temple and like collecting the tithes and like just everything that comes with like running the temple. I think probably one of them, I think there's like maybe like a lot of like the politics within the family, like one's about to become a bishop, one is part of like this reformed movement that says like we need to allow all the thieves and these unwanted people in and welcome them, and another one is like, no, we need to keep the faith pure. So it's a mess. It's a mess.
Do you think that is it that your parents, are they honored to have sent you away and are paying for this, or is it very much let's get him out of the house?
I think mom is very annoyed that I ask a lot of questions, and dad has like a true fondness. like maybe there was a time where he also thought that there was like a true faith behind what he did, and maybe that has died a little bit. And now he's too worried about running the temple. Maybe he's the high priest there. And so maybe he sees this as like a way to like maybe redeem the choices that he made.
You mentioned his appearance, maybe smaller, more bespectacled. Like, what kind of clothing are you imagining that would be typical? Is it more ostentatious? It is more priestly? Is it more conventional? What are you thinking?
I think it's like priestly, because he's always really freaked out that like his parents are going to show up any day, right?
Okay.
And I'm there representing the family. I'm there representing our deity. I'm there maybe representing the town, because maybe like life around the city where we're from kind of centers around the temple. But I imagine maybe like the most mischievous person in the party has like giving me something to adorn myself, and like maybe I secretly wear it, and maybe like currently I'm wearing it in public, and like I don't know.
Are you excited to be going to Strixhaven, or are you worried? What is Wolfie's feeling about coming here?
I think Wolfie's just like sort of just used to doing things, and I think are we like second years?
You are first years. This is your first year. You're just arriving.
Okay, I think maybe I'm gonna find like some true faith here and like a true connection to my deity. So I think probably excitement.
Okay.
Because maybe what he's heard is that like anything's possible with Strixhaven, you know. I think maybe my older brother is set to be high priest, and then maybe he said something like, "Oh, you're gonna come back and you're gonna be high priest," and I'm like, "Really?" And he's like, "Anything's possible, Strixhaven." Ha 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 ha. And like I took that seriously, and I'm like, "Wow, a world of possibilities."
I love it. I'm going to have everybody else introduce themselves, and then I'm going to come back to you, and we'll establish that you know at least one other person. We'll figure out who that is once we've gone through everyone. Let's come to Alphonse. Alphonse, you told us a little bit about this, but give us the full tale of Fonzie.
Okay, so Fonzie, as I mentioned before, never was a good student. Kind of struggled under his parents' shadows. I think that their parents are now divorced, and their mom, who's an elf, had always kind of thought of her relationship with Fonzie's father as kind of a fling. It was a fling that lasted like 14 years, but in her mind, I'm like, that's like a summer, and happened to like have a child and raise that child together for that long period of time. Fonzie's father hasn't quite gotten over it, isn't trying to win their mother back. I don't think. Like, I think that's kind of a gross trope, that, or not necessarily a gross trope, but like it's a trope I don't want to explore. So Fonzie is pretty anxious about going to Strixhaven. They probably would have preferred to maybe study somewhere else, but it was very, very important to their great uncle that they follow in that path. There is a possibility maybe there's some kind of treasure or artifact that's important to that great uncle that might be buried somewhere in the school, and Fonzie's the perfect patsy to be sent hunting for it.
Absolutely. And what is your class again?
Warlock.
Warlock. Okay. Tell me, you mentioned your parents associated with the school. Are they both currently instructors, or do they work at the school, or what, or are they somewhere else? What do you imagine?
I think they're both employed as professors, but I think one of them, and I haven't made a decision on which, may be on sabbatical this year. So, whichever one you think is more interesting to have on campus, we can have them be the focus of that relationship.
So you weren't raised at Strixhaven. Where were you raised? Is there like a town that kind of serves, a city that serves Strixhaven a ways away that you were raised in, or were you raised by another part of the family somewhere else? What do you imagine?
Um, I think because I'm a troublemaker, my parents wanted to. I'm revising as I think through this. I think initially, like very early years, were at Strixhaven, and when I happened to set off a couple of spells that I was trying to learn improperly, I was sent off to a close-ish relative um, to see to my more proper upbringing, which didn't quite stick.
So they have a Strixhaven like employee daycare, grade school, and at some point they were like, "You need to take your son out of here." Okay. So you haven't been here for a while.
Yeah, and I imagine there are things that never change. There's things that change in a magical kind of way that I would never have expected they could change that much. But everything seems much smaller than it did as a child.
And like, have you seen your parents in recent years, or have they been apart? Like, what's your relationship to each of them?
I think very distant.
Okay.
I think I'm not thrilled that I've wound up at Strixhaven. They're probably not thrilled that I've wound up here either. I wouldn't quite say that we're estranged, but it's bordering on that.
And this great uncle on the elfin side or on the human side?
I think on the elfin side.
Okay. And is this somebody who helped raise you?
Somebody who I think helped listen.
Okay.
Or at least that's how I interpreted it growing up. They were long dead by the time I was born, or dead. And I picture them as just a skull souvenir.
Okay.
That I've kept with me basically all through growing up. And for a while, my parents not taking it too seriously, just thought that I was kind of an odd child that had an imaginary friend that happened to be my great uncle's skull. They don't think that he's preserved himself in any kind of lich-like form.
He didn't have that kind of power.
No,
He would never.
He was
be
a
able to
jokester.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you look like?
I'm picturing goth John Belushi.
Goth John Belushi. What a weird image. That's great. Is that like a family kind of look, or is this thing an affectation that you've established?
The goth aspect is definitely an affectation. It's me embracing not being a chosen child.
Is there anything you want to tell us about those ideals, bonds, flaws, any of those things?
I want to look through some of the options again,
Okay.
but like my and I'm trying to even remember what some of the ones that are built out in the core books are. But I think that ideals that I have, it's really like I want to make the best of what I perceive is going to be a bad time. And if I can make other people enjoy themselves and loosen up a bit at this really prestigious academy, I think it'll make it just a little bit easier to get by.
Awesome. I like that. That brings us to Talon. Matthew, tell us about Talon.
Hi. So, Talon, the way I see him is this. Some of this might end up answering questions you've already prompted to other people, but I'll
Sure.
just get it all out. Which is that the idea I have for Talon is that both his parents were also part of like the greater Strixhaven society, and by that I mean like if not on campus, then at least in the surrounding campus town. Because if I'm not mistaken, it takes place in some plane, whose name I can't even remember anymore. And his father was uh, a wizard of some note, and I think I'll leave it to you to sort of like, make stuff up about that, whether they're like, super influential or not. But the crucial thing for me is that he disappeared from Talon's life when he was young. And so since then, Talon has been kind of like a moody, sullen kid. I wouldn't go far as saying Goth John Belushi,
Yep.
but definitely someone who's spent his childhood just being lost in whatever distractions rather than trying to connect with other kids his age or other sorcerers, arcane types.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, and as his um the thing I'm lacking clarity a little bit sometimes with
Sure.
D&D, which I think is super cool about D&D, is that they've got all these arcane traditions or these classes, and they're all distinguished by very interesting things, like the sorcerer, the warlock, and the wizard, particularly, right? So I sometimes am not sure like what that means to have a draconic soul.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But I think whatever it is that gave him, that ability, that power, um, qualified him for, or sort of like motivated his mother to be
Mhm.
all like, all right, this kid isn't going to be happy where he is. This kid isn't going to do anything, isn't going to be best served by being here. So, I got to get him into a school, and when Strixhaven came calling, that was it. I think maybe it's possible to like fluff this as a scholarship. I'm
Okay.
not sure how you feel about that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
The sense I'm getting from that is that this is not someone who came from a family that was very much magic tradition and things like that. That maybe was a little unusual that you had this level of magic or skill. And does it feel like more like that?
Definitely on the mother side. I think let's. I like where you're going with that. So let's just make it like only the father and not his grandfather or brothers or sisters. Like they're not a big magic family. Just the
Okay.
dad. Just Farrick Senior is the only wizard within his immediate family,
Uh, and
and he's missing.
oh yeah, yeah. Um, what does your plumage look like? Like what kind of owl? Because we've got that sort of light furred barn owl. We've got the gray owl. We've got a darker color. How are you picturing that?
I think we don't see many owls here on the 36th floor.
Yeah,
So
true.
so I'm gonna go with sort of like a brown and gold plumage with a white
Okay.
underbelly front thingy kind of thing going. Yeah. Not gray, brown and gold, yeah.
How common are owlin in this world? Are they fairly common? Are they shockingly rare? Are they a little rare? How are you picturing that?
I think a little rare, like sorry, I think common enough to not be considered, eyebrow raising. No one goes like, oh, an owlin, you know, right? But they definitely aren't the dominant or one of the dominant species
Mhm.
on this plane or in this world that we're building together.
Is there anything really unique, uh, interesting, unusual that you want to share with us about what owlin culture looks like give us something a detail to think about.
Hmm. How about I get back to you on that? Because I'd really like to give
Absolutely.
that one some
That
thought.
is fair 100% to do that. That will bring us to Finn Oakenshade. We've established a little bit about your physical look and so on, but give us the full sense of who they are and what it means to be a wither bloom and be this circle of spores and so on.
Yeah, so I'm just going to give you a mini brain dump because I was kind of making some notes on the side.
Sure.
So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about my family. My mother and father belong to this clan, the Oaken Shades of the Wandering Glade. And so I'm actually picturing that this kind of near the Feywild / in a forest thing that occurs actually can move at the will of the Feywild. So sometimes we're near Waterdeep, sometimes we're somewhere totally different. And I hope that someday I can be like fully an Oakenshade of the Wandering Glade. Right now, I'm just an Oakenshade. I haven't proven myself worthy of like the mantle of the family. I think Strixhaven accepted my application due to the strength of the family name, though no Oakenshade has ever been to Strixhaven prior. And the reason I wanted to go is really to study under Belderos Witherbloom, the dragon. So I hope that I get to study some of that death and rebirth that Belderos is so famed for. And I haven't met him yet. And so there's the brain dump.
What does it mean to not have the mantle of the wandering? Does that mean that the woods moves and you're in one place, or you have to follow, or what do you
Yeah,
think?
so if I don't follow the directions of those who do have the full title, like if I'm not in the hut before nightfall, it's a high risk thing. So, and I'm going to say majority don't have the title, right?
Okay.
You're born just an Oakenshade, and if you prove yourself worthy, go through whatever process to become a great druid, then you can bear that mantle.
Are the Oakenshades the only Firbolgs, or are there lots of family of Firbolgs, or what do you think that is?
I think that if you go north, trying to remember Icewind Dale, I think if you travel around that region, you would find many Firbolgs. However, they don't travel. So the
Okay.
fact that we are of the Wandering Glade makes it so that as we go to different areas, it's kind of novel. People haven't seen Firbolgs before.
Awesome. Awesome. Uh, so I think that gives us some pieces. We're going to take our first break here. We're going to take 10, and then we're going to come back and we're going to establish some relationships and connections before we move on. Sound good with everybody?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to pause the recording then.
Sure.
Yeah. It's like a cultural detail about the owlet. Like, what do we know about them?
So I'm going to draw inspiration from Filipino culture, which is like, so there is a way that Filipinos communicate that is nonverbal. Now, granted, almost every culture and race does have their own series of nonverbal tics, but it's a way of pointing at things without using your fingers. So they will use their lips, they will use their eye rolls, their eyebrows. You know, if they had prehensile earlobes, they would do it too. You know, and I think the owlin are capable of that. Like there's something about the way they focus their eyes or, you know, twitch the feathers in their cheeks or whatever that tell people that say, yeah, it's over there, or over there.
Okay.
You know, in a way that only other owlin, or at least those very familiar with owlin, can perceive.
Can owlin do this? Some of the owl thing? Can they turn their heads around? Can they turn their faces?
I mean, I did read about that a while ago, and that's too cool to say no to. So yes,
Okay.
they can do
All
that.
right.
They can do the 270-degree turn.
Yeah, so there's probably a little bit of that in there. They're nonverbal. Those kind of turns a little bit further than other people.
Yeah, but people can. Sorry.
And I assume you're like you can tell what each degree means.
Yeah.
In that.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is I want to go around and we'll establish some connections, some past incidents, some recent encounters, something. So and we're probably going to have doubles up in the course of this. Wolfie, which other of your companions have you met before? Have you interacted with either in the past, short term, long term? Who do you think that would be?
Okay, I'm gonna pitch you guys something. Okay, if I had a playbook of Wolfie,
Okay.
there would be a sentence that said, like, blank player has given you something to adorn yourself with, and you wear it. And I think Fonzie would be like the perfect person to be like, why do you always have to dress so plain? Like, spice it up a little bit. And like, I've been maybe like fighting him off. And Vince, you mentioned something about maybe an artifact or something. So feel free to give me something that maybe is not so benign.
And let me ask you this then. This would have happened before Strixhaven. So how long ago is this? A while in the past? Is it within the last year? What's the timeline on this?
I'll send the ball over to Vince on that one.
Yeah. I think it could be kind of interesting. Like I think one of the things I really like about our shared background elements is that we both have a little bit of this fake it till you make it aspect to our characters. So I could see us like having known each other for a while, maybe dating back to when my parents said, you can't stay here anymore.
Oh, well, like my orders probably takes in people who have no homes, right?
Oh gosh.
Maybe do you think, Fonzie, you passed through, or were you there for a while, or what do you think?
I am totally open to the idea of that being where I consider like my foundational upbringing, but I was just always a little weird for this life domain priesthood. Because I was a little bit too fascinated with the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, and maybe you were brought into that, or maybe like just the temple has like sort of like almost like an orphanage thing or a halfway house kind of deal. So yeah, you be open to be as involved with that part, but I think it would be cool. Like certainly you're like friends with my family, and my parents are like, well, we've got 7, we might as well have 8 around.
Yeah.
Like
I've definitely like been invited over for whatever your culture's equivalent to Thanksgiving is.
Mm-hmm.
I picture also the father when all of this, like finally they're going to send Wolfie off, the father taking you aside, Fonz, and saying, I know that you have family there, so you're going to watch out for Wolfie.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I got it, Pops.
Here's a little walking around money,
Take care of Wolf. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah. What is the object that was exchanged that you have, Wolfie?
I think I've told you it's a very large eyeball. Or sorry, it's a very large marble. It's actually a preserved eye.
Nice. That's awesome. Is
On
it
like
in
a
like
necklace.
necklace form, or is it
Yeah.
like a brooch, or is it like
I'm thinking necklace.
Okay, cool. Was it the sort of conversation that I was like, I don't know, and you were like, oh, eyeballs are in, man. Like eyeballs are the thing.
Well, like, the way that I frame it is like, what I've told you is it's an accessory, so you have to make sure that it complements whatever else it is that you're wearing. Like I've made it very clear that this is, you have to make a deliberate choice of when you're going to pair it with something, but you just wear it with everything.
Nice.
Everything. I wear it all the time because it's like sentimental, but sometimes it's out and sometimes it's not.
So Fonzie, and have met, cross paths with one of the other two, Fen or Talon. Who is that you've crossed paths with before?
I think I've crossed paths with Fen. We both took I know that we're not members of houses yet, but I think we're both hoping to pledge Witherbloom. And I think it might only date back to orientation, as far back as this getting to know each other. But just kind of talking about like what the coolest colleges are.
Yeah, let me suggest this, that since there are people who have a little bit of background, that there probably are representatives from the school that go out to test and gather people together to kind of like talk about the different schools. So maybe you met on one of those gatherings of people. Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
Does that work for you, Fen?
I'm sorry, I got distracted by the comments. Can you
I
repeat?
know. So the idea that at some point there were representatives from Witherbloom that brought a number of prospective students to kind of sell them on the school,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that you met Alphonse at that.
I like that. I think that's great. So we both kind of did a tour through Witherbloom where they tried selling us on the benefits. Why would we want to join?
When you come here in another year, you should really be thinking about this program if you want to get into Witherbloom, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think they were in a lot of the same classes together as a result of that.
Right.
So what do you think, Fen, your impression was of Alphonse? Good, bad, indifferent, uncertain?
I think Fonzie and I, share a lot of common interests. And Lowell, I have a request for a custom spell.
Okay.
I would like to be able to, like, just for not really like interacting with the world, but just for demonstration and entertainment, be able to animate a small bird skeleton
Okay.
that dances around and sings. And I would like to say that I showed Fonzie this little trick of mine, and it left a positive impression.
Yeah. So you have the dancing bird cantrip that you learned early on. Do you get Alphonse? Yes, you had a positive reaction to this, right?
Yeah, no, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Fen, do most people give you that reaction, or is that an unusual reaction?
It's an unusual reaction.
Okay.
And the other thing I was telling him about is how I collect bones, and maybe someday, if he dies, I could maybe have like a femur or a finger bone. And Alphonse, I don't think he recoiled when I said this.
Yeah, like what I'm really curious about is like, you went from like really, really big bone to really, really tiny bone with nothing in between. I'm just like, that's interesting.
Interesting choices there. I like that. So Fen, you've met Alphonse, between Wolfie and Talon. Who's the other person who you've met before this?
I want to say that it's Talon just because the owl creature is so cool. Matt, remind me, what is your class? What do you do?
I am playing a draconic soul sorcerer. I believe people with more D&D knowledge than me can parse what that really means on a deep level. But I sort of depict the character as very much like, I guess, half Reed Richards, half Johnny Storm.
And what is the deity that you get your power from, or what is your source of power as? No, sorcerer. Sorry, I was thinking warlock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Fire breathing owl.
I chose
I
lightning as the patron, actually.
Yeah. So blue
lightning.
dragon ancestor.
Yeah.
I would like to say that it was Matt's character, but I'm having a hard time piecing together why.
Well, I'll let you know something. I've
Okay.
already pegged you for my link, and the link I have is that I think, I'm not sure if this is enough of a link, but I'm going to say that what Talon sees in Fen is a sort of moral tactlessness. You know what I mean? Like, because so regardless of what their alignment or what their person or whether they're good or bad or a little bit, there's a sense that both Fen and Talon tend to not really they they tend to speak of their like of the things they want to do or the things that interest them in a way that isn't really sensitive to what like people see as good or bad. You know what I mean? And I kind of like that because from the beginning you've already been saying things like, what do you mean? Like you don't want a bird skull or whatever, And I feel like that's also something I've seen in some of the other characters you've played too. And with Talon being the kind of person who's more obsessed with studying patterns and like trying to figure out the reality of the world or all sorts of stuff without care or consideration for what you know what that might really mean for the people around him. That they might find common ground in that, I think.
And okay, I actually know. I mean, I talked with Fonzie about his bones. Those are fine. What I really, really want is Talon's skull when he dies. So I follow him around and I talk very nicely to him.
Alan's okay with that. I love that so much. I think Talon's like super, super duper okay with that.
And then Talon, besides Fen, do you know Wolfie or do you know Fonzie that you've met before this?
I think. Sorry, what was the deity again? I know this has been mentioned like at least more than once by now.
Domain of Life, but with thieves and pirates as its new sort of set of people who are following it.
That's what made Wolfie really tempting, actually.
Oh wait, okay, I think I've got an idea, but I think I need to learn more. So if the patron is life related and associated with thieves and pirates, like how does that work? How does the relationship of that clergy work? Like practically speaking, with thieves and pirates, do the thieves and pirates pray to them? Do they receive patronage from, not patronage, but like financing from the clergy? Like what does that look like? Tell me.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it all started from maybe like a famous pirate king once like experienced a miracle, like prayed to my deity and he was healed or maybe brought back to life on his own accord. And so he became a prophet, and he converted his entire like pirate kingdom, and so now there's like this large chunk of like pirates and thieves, that worship. So there's some tension between like traditional, worshipers of my deity and then like this new large group, but they tithe,
so cool.
they give to the temple, they volunteer,
That's so cool. I really love that. I love the idea that it's like it started out as a very, it is originally a very conventional, plain, for as far as one can say a religion is plain, religion,
like
now
a cleric, stereotypical D&D religion of a good god, right?
And now everybody has to recognize and reckon with the fact that, hey man, a number of your followers tend to be of this kind of whatever job affiliation, and I think that's super cool. So what is what I'm gonna say?
There's this weird thing now at like pubs where like a pirate will do something piratey and another pirate will come and be like, hey, we don't effing do that anymore, okay? So you effing calm down, and it's like they're trying to figure it out,
So this is what I want to say. Put a pin on that idea of like the pirate prophet king, whatever you want to do, or maybe Loa will. And I'll say that Talon's father, who I'm going to have to name at some point, Talon's father disappeared in circumstances related to seeking out or following the original pirate king, trying to find where he is or something like that.
Okay.
And I think because of that, sorry, I realized and so because of that, I think that Talon is very driven to learn more about the religion without necessarily following it. And so he's looked to Constantinus, Wolfgang Constantinus, Wolfie, to sort of be his like, source for illumination regarding that religion.
Awesome.
And Lowell, I guess I'm gonna name this deity, or do you want to name
Yeah,
it?
no,
or-
let's have a name for the deity.
Okay. I'm looking at some name generators now.
Okay. Feel free to put that in the chat so that we have the spelling correct on it. So we're going to take up, each of you some time back received a letter of confirmation from telling you that you have been accepted into Strixhaven as a first year. The notes, some notes going to parents to confirm about payment, some notes going to other patrons for that, some students being on hardship scholarships, that kind of thing. We'll talk about, what that means. And so you've been preparing for a number of weeks to finally go. Alphonse and Fen, you're the two who have definitely been on campus. Fen, you've probably only ever been to the Witherbloom section of it, but Fonzie, for you, this is old hat. And you have received that very long letter from the new acting headmaster. Unusual for this year, a name you hadn't heard, Gravast Dirland.
Wait, so new headmaster, you said?
Yes, new headmaster this year. Not a name certainly that you recognize, Fonzie. The letter comes with the details on the books that you're required, on the basic courses, the restrictions on things and what you could bring, and of course the list of electives that you have to choose from, because you'll get to choose one elective here during this first semester. And by various means, you have made your way to Strixhaven. And this is the day of the arrivals of the first years. If you've seen the pictures, any of those, I mean, there's a great big arches as you come into the school. There's that center with a variety of buildings in the library. There are spokes that go off to the different colleges, to Witherbloom and Quillix and so on. And those are out, but the main campus is big. Lots of draconic imagery everywhere. The dragons founded the college years ago. And you would guess maybe 140, 150 other first years are guided in. There are little tour automatons that are there greeting you, created by artificers that kind of keep you in line, moving down the main ramp. You don't see a lot of students there. Mostly what you're seeing here as you arrive are the staff and guides and things like that are kind of herding the students like cats a little bit. And I think just by the gravity of each of you kind of knowing one another, that we get the core of the four of you in a gaggle together in and amongst all of these people. I assume that in many ways, Wolfie, you're the one who looks the most lost of the four.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So how do you greet the others? How do we see that you're kind of excited, nervous? Like, what do we see here?
I think that I have lost the jewelry that Fonzie has given me, and like the eye has fallen out of it, and I have gone chasing it like around like different corridors. Like, I swear, like maybe it's moving by itself. It's so weird, but surely it's just rolling. And I think maybe I fall out of like a vent or something, like straight onto Fen.
And you're kind of Fen, what's your attitude in amongst all of these people? This big group, this grand area, very constructed, very built stone and marble and magic and glass.
I think Fen is just like in wide-eyed, take it all in, move as a drone mode, where it's like a little bit of overload,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got like just a plastered smile on his face as he's just trying to process the rest of the campus that he never even saw.
And then comes out from above you, Wooly comes kind of crashing down into your arms as you're walking along from some kind of, was it a balcony? Was it an event? You're unsure.
Right. And it's like, oh, oh, hi there. You're one of Fonzie's friends, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. Don't tell him. Don't tell him I lost the eye. And I like hold it to your face, kind of awkwardly, and then I put it back onto the jewelry part, and maybe like it even makes like a disgusting, maybe fleshy, like as it goes back in.
And I set you on the ground and I'm like, oh, no problem. You had it when I found you, so how could I tell him that?
How do you know Fonzie?
Sorry, what?
How do you know Fonzie?
Oh, we both toured Witherbloom.
Oh yeah, he keeps
He
talking.
was talking about you, so I assumed that you were Wolfie, is that right?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's nice to meet you in person. Holds out hand.
I think Wolfie's gonna like grab that hand and like shake it very, very vigorously. Yeah,
Barely registers, but
yeah. And it's probably one of those things where like your hand like swallows mine.
yeah.
And what about for Talon? Like what, when we kind of, now the camera kind of pans over in amongst this crowd and we see Talon, what is Talon's attitude?
Talon is definitely like lost and very flustered because he's got all of his stuff with him. You know, the bags and you know, his positions, and they're all very disorganized, and like he's not holding them properly. In fact, you think he was carrying too much stuff, but you like a half second of attention will let you know that he's actually not carrying a lot. He just isn't very organized about how he puts things away and stores them. And so as he's getting off the train, boat, or whatever, like you know, he's just barely managing to hold on his possessions, and he's got his head and his neck craned up, trying to look above the crowd to make sense of where he's going, kind of like Marcus Brody in Egypt in Indiana Jones and the
Okay.
Last Crusade.
Yeah. So you've got your trunk kind of trailing behind you, the bag. So and you're making your way down this grand avenue walkway into this building now, and they're kind of directing the traffic. And you will see Fen, because he towers over everyone else here. What do you do?
So Talon just like you know, tries to get his, you know, cross the distance without dropping anything while heading over to Fen, and I guess is Cisco, sorry, Wolfie present as well?
Yeah, the two of them
They're all there.
are talking. You kind of can push. You can kind of see them through the crowd.
Yeah, and when he greets like Fen, he's like, you know, he's so relieved to see people he recognizes that he ends up dropping his stuff on the floor a little bit to yeah, to hug them, and then realizing as one paper blows away, stops and like tries to chase after them and, you know, put it all back together.
And so we see the three of you, greetings are exchanged. That probably now the back of the line is kind of coming up. Fonzie, how is it that you ended up at the back of this 150 person line of students that are filing in?
I think I didn't start at the back. I think I started pretty close to the front and just have taken it upon myself to make introductions with like as many people that I'm going to be sharing this first year with as possible. And I am spreading rumors about all of the younger teachers who were students during my brief time in my childhood. Um, in particular, I'm recounting the night that the current professor of the bearing decorum and grace class got very, very drunk on elven wine and streaked across whatever our fantasy sport of choice pitch had been. So not quite a good representative of the class they teach now.
And we definitely do. I'll have to look up what the name of that sport is again, but we do have that. So why don't you roll me a deception roll here? I want to see like what kind of impression you create.
Okay. I get on that. 14 total.
Okay.
I think I'm reading that right.
What you actually read is you'll read the one that's on the left.
Okay.
The reason they roll 2 is to always have you, if you're rolling advantage or disadvantage, it automatically does that.
Got it.
Okay. And we'll talk about inspiration later on, where you can spend to roll with advantage. But yeah, so you've got people are kind of listening to you as much as anything because you're playing it off like you know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to run this place when I was 5.
Yeah, that's what you did, and a lot of the students here have no idea, and so someone talking with authority, they listen, even if it is faintly absurd. And I think as you're kind of getting towards the back, as the line's moving, you will see Wolfie, Fen, and Talon there.
Oh my gosh, Ben! And I think I push through the crowd and just leap onto Fen's back and attempt to climb up and give Fen a noogie.
And I'm like expecting you to just like ride on my back. So when the noogie comes, it's a little bit surprising. And it's like, oh, no, what are you doing that for?
Oh, it's great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
So I'll admit, I don't know enough about your culture. Should I ask before offering a noogie?
Before the noogie, yes. Before the ride, no problem.
Okay. God, thank you. Oh gosh. And you've already met Wolfie?
Yeah, here's your good friend Wolfie. I remember you talking about him.
Yeah. Oh,
Alan raises his hands and it's like, no noogies.
okay. High five. Right, this is gonna be
very awkwardly high five.
Does your character have like a wing, or is there a hand under a wing, or is it a claw under the wing? How does that work?
There are arms with hands,
Okay.
and then there are also wings for the outline.
Okay. So 2 sets.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
So how's everybody finding the campus so far?
It's
Yeah, look,
amazing. I've never seen something so large and
And you
regal.
should talk.
Sorry, what?
I guess the campus is larger than you are. Okay.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, right.
And I think there's that moment when silence kind of falls here. You realize that the corridor is kind of emptying out, and you see the last of the students going into the what is clearly the important orientation assignment hall. And there are a couple of guide people at those doors who are clearly getting ready to shut that as the last of the students go in.
So do you guys want to go to orientation, or do you want to like get a real tour?
What do you mean?
Maybe we should go to orientation.
Tour?
Well, just think this could be your opportunity to like learn where all the hidden places are. That, you know,
That's right. You grew up here. You know all these places, right?
yeah, I mean, admittedly, a lot of them were more hidden in terms of like when I was that size, I could get into them. And I don't know
Mm.
that I could get into them anymore. We're talking about like vents and that kind of thing.
I think Wolfie is going to start arguing like orientation is like very important, but Wolfie has also like memorized the manual, so he will agree to go if you allow him to give the orientation as we sneak about. From what he can recall of the manual.
I think there'll be a that kind of cough of an adult nearby, and you will see this woman standing there, kind of dark purple clothing, standing there, and she will look and she will say,
And as the first words leap from her mouth, like Talon has his hands behind Wolfie, and he's sort of like pushing him gently, pretending as if, oh, we were going the whole time.
I think
Please do continue, RP wise.
I think Talon is like, as he's pushing me, I am like reading off like page 4, paragraph 3, subsection 27, and it's talking about like how you will not sneak around and how like all adults must be respected and treated, and like right at that moment I like turn around and I'm like face to face with this adult.
And
This
just as
woman-
a quick aside to everyone, say, let's just stay toward the back so we can sneak out if we have to.
All right.
this woman says, Mr. Lyodon,
Hello. Good to be back.
it would be in all of your best interest to attend the orientation because it is about assignment of living quarters. And unless you wish to sleep in the street and not have a schedule of classes, it would behoove you to go. Now, I know, and she looks around at the other 3 of you and says that this is probably not something that Mr. Leodon would object to. But I expect that you 3 new students should get off on the right foot.
Strixhaven does have really nice streets.
He totally doesn't mean that. Like, I'll cut it in front. He doesn't mean that. We want a schedule of classes. We want lots
Yeah,
of classes.
the classes,
Like, the
the
more classes,
classes.
the better. Yeah.
Let's go, the classes.
She says, I am Mrs. Darkbow. I hope that we'll have a fruitful relationship with one another throughout your time here at Strixhaven. Go. And then she points meaningfully, like, move along.
That bat has been here forever. She taught my dad.
Like forever, forever?
I can find out.
You remember, she is there are people who teach for the different arcane versions of conventional professions. And you kind of recollect that there are arcane assassins. And he's like, I think that's what she does. That kind of thing. And we'll see you kind of get to the doors, bags dragged along with you, stop them from closing the doors, and you'll get in and you can haul yourself to the back. There are chairs here. People have dragged their bags around them and settled in, and it's 150 students, all with luggage, scattered around a big room on benches, chairs, and so on. All kinds of, we've got elves, we've got orcs, we've got goblins, we've got humans, it's all kinds of people in here.
It's 150 of the first years, not 150 of the whole school, right?
It's 150 of the first years.
Of just the first years. Okay.
And there's someone up front talking. They have a little more formal look, and they will say, Eos Deklos welcomes you to Strixhaven, and Eos Deklos it apologizes for the number of chairs here, but Eos Deklos did not do the counting, so these things can be excused, but find seats where any of you can, gather yourselves together, and then stutter into a reverential silence. If you would, there's no need for applause. Eos Deklos does not believe in applause, but there's no need for that. If all of you will though, silence, stuttering down. Welcome the new acting headmaster of Strixhaven, Gravast Dirland. And you will see this dwarf in a kind of a suit, well tailored, beautifully made, with an absurdly tall hat, come walking, clearly waiting in the wings. And it's that long walk from the wings to the dais. He's a dwarf, so it takes a while. And eventually he gets over to there, and he will say, greetings to all of you. Welcome to this year here at Strixhaven. There are proctors who are going around and handing out crystal marbles. When they give one to you, please hold it in one of your hands. If you do not have a hand-like appendage will be fine. And hang on to that. That is vitally important. Do not lose it. And you'll see these people going around. They're moving through the crowd, and they're asking, okay, everybody raise your hand if you don't already have one. And they've got these crystal big marbles, and they are handing them out to people. They'll come around to where you're at, and they'll hand one. They kind of have to reach up to you, Fen, to hand you that.
Why, thank you.
Lowell, with your permission, I think as you know, they're walking as he's giving his speech, and when he says a hand-like appendage, we'll do like on camera. There's just like a tentacle that comes off camera and onto Wolfie's lap and like grabs one, and then just like pulls one, and now there's like sludge all over me.
Oh yeah, a little bit of ectoplasmic slime that's left behind. Gravast Darlan says, due to certain issues and certain changes in the structure of Strixhaven for this year, first years will be assigned to dorms where you'll be staying. This has been common practice, but we have opened up some of the older dorms this year for this to divide the students out. It's a means of building a community as well as a little competition between the different student groups. Once you have completed your first year, some of you will be given the opportunity to join a college. Some of you will have to wait on that until your third year. Just be aware of that. And he says, if everyone would please grip that marble tightly, it would be appreciated. And he will say, when you release that, that crystal will have changed color. If that crystal is now green, you will be assigned to the Thorns dormitory. If it is red, you'll be assigned to the Malbrecht dormitory. If it is white, you'll be assigned to the Galleon dormitory. And if it is blue, you'll be assigned to Zaramar. So you may each do that, and then they're like little color things that are set up at different parts of the room, the 4 quadrants of the room. If you'll move over to your designated dorm areas, and we'll have the instructors come and take you to the proper position. Who is the first person to open the hand of the 4 of you?
I mean, I waited until the full instruction was complete before opening my hand. So if anyone does it before that, they beat me.
Anyone?
I'm gonna
Oh,
wait
okay.
because like Fonzie, or rather, whereas my dad pushed Fonzie aside and told him like, watch for Wolfie, my mom pulled me aside and say, you look after Fonzie. Okay.
That's
so yeah.
I think Talon does in fact open his hand first.
And you will look down and you will see that the marble has turned black. And I think you'll look around at each of you as you kind of open your hands. You'll see various people around you. They're opening. You'll see they've got the red marble, the green marble, the blue marble, the white marble. But each of you will see that when you open your hands up, the marble is turned jet black, like onyx black.
They didn't say black, did they?
No, I don't think so.
We weren't too
Wait.
late, were we?
You all got black too?
Wolfie has like a copy of the orientation manual. And he's like, what does black
Wolfie,
mean?
what does it
black
say?
mean? It's not here. He's like showing it to all of them. He's like, black is not here. Black is not here.
Like Talon just shakes the marble a little bit and like tries to and like rubs it, tries to see if like is it not working? Did it just like turn out right?
Oh, I hope this doesn't mean that we actually are sleeping on the street. I lied. The streets are not very good.
Oh man.
And there comes a point which you're having this discussion when you realize like all of the students, except for another handful, maybe another 6 or 7, have all moved away from the 4 of you to these different areas where you can see different instructors like talking to them with these colored fabrics and so on. And it's like you 4 and then another handful of others that are also kind of standing around looking panicked. All of them like clearly uncertain what to do.
Is this a bit? Is this a bit?
I would see why I'd get targeted for a bit, but all of you, this might not be a bit. Hey, Darkbow, is this a bit?
I think they'll.
I hold up my
Yeah.
marble.
There'll be a moment when you'll see the shifting of the shadows and you'll see this figure kind of come through the crowd, looks over, comes over to where you're at. I didn't think we'd be speaking to one another so soon.
Just kind of confused by the black marble.
And you'll see her stop and she turns to you, Fen, and yours is black as well.
It is. What does black mean?
One moment. Yours as well, Wolfram, is it?
Wolfie is too busy like trying to get the attention of the other students. Like, what does it mean? And like off camera, we see like some sort of very tall creature like burp on him, and now his hair is like this, and he's grabbing the tentacle, and he's like, what does it mean? And then finally he throws himself on the professor. He's like, I don't know what I did. It just broke.
Mr. Wolfram, please stop. Is your marble black as well?
He holds it up pathetically.
And yours, Mr. Talon, is it? All right. And she turns to the others that are with you. There are even a dozen of you when all is said and done. And she says, I need you 12 to go stand over there. I will be back in just one moment. Do not leave. Do not go anywhere. Go over there, stand, and do not leave the room.
As soon as her back's turned, Fonzie, is it too late for that unofficial tour?
I think we should go.
That's
And
it. That's it.
you
We're in
see
trouble.
her heading. You see her head up to the front, to the dais, and goes up, and you see her start talking with the headmaster. What do you want to do?
Is there anything I could knock over with Mage Hand at a safe distance to cause a distraction?
Like what? What kind of thing? Is a huge room, 150 people. They're now like 4 big groups, and your group and the people and things. What kind of thing would you want to knock over and potentially destroy?
A
Here to
burning
create-
brazier, do it.
I have an idea, Vince, that I can pitch to you.
I would love to hear an idea.
I think that there are famous people who've attended Strixhaven, and it is one of the highest honor to have their marbles saved. And so they save it in these
A
in
big
this
jar of
giant like
marbles.
vase. Yeah. If you knock it over, there's gonna be old marbles everywhere.
Oh God, here we go.
And
Is
then
that what you wish to do, Fonzie?
I think that's the best idea anybody has had today.
All right. So let's have you roll sleight of hand. That feels like what's appropriate to do Mage Hand at a distance.
That's a good sleight of hand roll.
That is a good sleight of hand roll. And there is that bit where you'll push and you'll hear one of the teachers go, no, and you'll see like a number of spells go off, but there are all these students around. So they can't really target it as this thing comes crashing down. Glass, ancients, these marbles go flying everywhere, and everyone's attention is over there. What do you do?
Let's get out of here.
So the 4 of you are going to pull open the grand doors and rush out.
I'll push on those grand doors.
Okay. I don't think there's a roll needed to get out of here. The other 8 will stay. They don't know what's going on. You force him to be in cahoots. In fact, they may think that all of this is your fault at this
Probably
point. That's their assumption why they have black marbles, and now this is going on. And the 4 of you run out into this big open hallway. You hear noises and callings and things like that behind you. What do you do?
Really hadn't thought that far.
I am distraught and sad the whole time, just like wow. While we're running.
Yeah, you can run a big hall, grand, beautiful place. You kind of get out down the big marble steps out into the daylight, the great grounds, the fountains, all of that out here. And
So
where do you go?
I'm not
I
saying
think-
that like anything specifically is being planned against us, but Darkbow, pretty sure she like trains assassins. And if she steps aside to confer about something involving us, could be really bad.
I think that Wolfie, like as soon as he was pulled aside to join the 12, like he pulled out his scriptures And he's like, what does Essen have to say about this? You know, the number 12, the number 12. Okay, well, Radix had 12 disciples during the first age, but we don't look at disciples. I don't think that's it. And he's like looking for any symbol that might be found in the scriptures. And I think when all four of us moved, it was because somebody like grabbed him and like pulled him. And he's like running and trying to read at the same time. And he'll look at everyone else and be like, a book. We need to find answers in a book. Where is the library?
Library. Right. Let's see. I tried to avoid the library. So if I was me, where would I avoid going? That way.
And I know that Talon is very shocked and upset and disappointed. Fen, what's your reaction to all of this?
I think that there's this moment where it was like, obviously, this is the right thing to do because black wasn't even on the menu. And they're obviously conspiring against us. You can see it up there with all the pointing, and Fonzie's telling us all these things. And now I think that doubt is starting to enter Fen's mind, but also I'm committed. So it's like, Fen, what did you get us into? Why are we running? How could this lead to any good outcome? How are we going to get it into Witherbloom this way?
I haven't thought that far ahead yet.
Well, we better start figuring it out.
Well, Wolfie seems to think that the library would be a good place to find answers. And I don't have any, so we could start there.
This can't possibly be the first time that this has happened before.
Maybe the black marbles are described in the library.
Well, we're gonna find, and if someone's got to have answers, it's gonna be the library and not not Fonzie.
That's right. Look for 1311. There's nothing new under the sun. Let's go.
Let's go.
So the four of you will make your way across campus. There are some students out. Again, there are automatons and various staff people that will kind of give you an odd look, because most of the students that you've seen are in Strixhaven uniforms, which you haven't been given yet. So you are dressed in your clothing, and there's a kind of the looking at you like, who are these urchins who are wandering around on campus? Is this a tour? What's going on? And there will be a moment where you'll see someone that appears to be like a senior person kind of comes and gets in your path and says, "Are you four lost?" It's a big tortoise shell guy. Has a rake with him, has a hat perched on his head at a jaunty angle. Are you lost?
I reply in Sylvan. I'm sorry, I don't understand you.
And he replies in Dwarven, and then Gnomish.
And then
Said, do any of you speak Common?
So this is the point where Talon sort of like stands near Fonzie and this guy and tries to pretend to mediate the conversation and sort of like translate and say that, we translate and say that we're here, for some last minute stuff that we were asked to pick up for the school. And I think what Talon's doing is he's trying to convince this guy.
That feels like, that feels like you're trying to do either persuasion or deception. Do you want to make a roll on one of those?
Sure, let's make it more of a deception roll, since of course, we're trying to convince him that, that Fonzie doesn't understand a word he's saying.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I will roll a d20, so with a +5, right?
If that is your deception, then yes.
All right, roll 1d20 +5. Is that how it works? Did that work?
Oh, look, a 17 plus 5. He's like, well, the supply offices and the campus store are over that way. I would be glad to take you there if you'd like.
You know, yeah, sure. Like, you know, Talon concurs unless other characters have any objections in which to step in.
We should be able to at least get the right clothes at the supply office.
Yeah.
And so he will, somewhat slower than you would like, start walking you over to the campus store. Like you feel very exposed out here, even with this guide.
So like Talon has a wing and it's just like wrapping around the front of his head.
Because that'll hide your identity right there.
Yeah, because no one.
Especially with Fen with you. I mean, you're gonna.
Ben's kind of okay with this pace. This is not a bad pace.
I think that Fonzie, in his attempt to keep up the appearance that he doesn't understand common, like hangs back for a little while until one of you
Oh yeah.
grabs him and pulls him along.
Try to pass yourself as a little slow, quote unquote.
And he will walk you into what's clearly kind of the like maybe there's a student union here, and there's you know, this is sort of the general cafeteria where you would expect there to be some of the upperclassmen, definitely the second years, but it's very underpopulated. And there's the campus store and the Turtle Goes. So here's the store. It turns to you, you can buy things here.
I say in giant, thank you. Does he speak giant?
Oh, it kind of goes. And it turns back to you again. Talon, I'm sorry, I didn't get what he said.
Talon doesn't understand giant.
Oh,
Or
well,
Elven even. Like
okay. Well, I'll leave you all to it. If you need any help, just talk to one of the people at the counters there, okay?
Talon gestures to like the bell that's in the store, and he goes like, "I got it." And, like, you know, like he can ring that thing if he wants to.
And this turtle will walk away and leave the four of you here, and you're off the grounds. You're have a little more cover. You're out of sight. There hasn't been a pursuit sent immediately after you.
Nicely done, everybody.
So like every college gift shop has swag that they sell, sweaters, different things of that nature. I feel like this is a shopping montage where we're figuring out the perfect costumes.
Absolutely. You can't quite get the Strixhaven uniform, but you can get sweaters and things that sort of look like the uniform at a distance, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What counts as the boyfriend shirts?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, they've got the university logo, but they're not strictly speaking uniforms.
Right. Yeah. Definitely this is clothing mass produced by magic. It's going to shrink you know, when it gets washed, that kind of thing, but you can pick up some clothing. I will say, while they do have clothing for the owlin, like that's a people that come here, they kind of have to find the like double X troll size for you, Fen, that kind of thing.
At
And-
least a scarf, maybe. Maybe there's a
I'm good with the
scarf.
scarf. I just
Okay.
need a scarf.
You're
Scarf.
making a scarf here or a scarf around you like a loincloth?
No, right
Oh, in
here.
the neck. Okay, yeah. Yeah. I think
and
during the
so- yeah.
montage, Wolfie comes out and he's like pulling at like the underside of the pants. They're like, how do you people wear this? This is so uncomfortable because all he has is robes. It's like, I get no air down here. You guys really like wearing this? This is awful.
No
You will-
problems for Fonz, I take it.
Yeah, he makes it look good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like, he accents, he has like,
Oh,
I imagine each of the houses has a bit of their own wardrobe going on and is doing like mostly Witherbloom, which is gonna be a very like white and black mix.
Yeah.
But then like, I think accents maybe with like another scarf that's,
A matching scarf with Fen, or a contrasting complementary scarf.
complementary.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember if there's a red blue house. I feel like that would be a good,
I think is that Prismere? I think that might be Prismere.
yeah.
I like how I like Cisco said earlier, fake it till you make it. And here's Fonz.
Here we are faking
like,
it.
yeah, I'm Witherbloom.
So yeah, you spend probably most of your ready cash to buy these horribly overpriced gift shop pieces of clothing.
Yeah, how much is a scarf?
We even have cash? I don't
I
think
have
we have cash.
15 gold.
I have gold.
Yeah, you should have gold from your background stuff. I will have to look, but whatever the price is for clothing, and then triple it because it's from a campus store. We'll look that up. But it is more money than you'd wanted to spend on this. And so I think we cut
a British or American-based university.
Yes. We will see you seated at a table there. Kind of now the montage is over, the clothing is gathered. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go?
Still haven't figured out this whole marble thing.
I mean, now I think we could make it into the library. Look at these outfits we got.
Yeah, we look like we belong here.
Exactly.
Colors are all right.
We do belong here.
Yes. Maybe we should have stuck around at orientation, now that I think back on it.
Alan
think-
really narrows his eyes at Fonz.
Let me guess,
But,
Fonz, you
tricky-
didn't plan that far ahead.
Not really.
Yeah, that's the catchphrase.
That's the catchphrase.
Can be engraved in your tombstone. Anyway, so what Talon does is like immediately after narrowing his eyes as Ponzi, like turns away and then tries and then just heads in the direction of the library, gesturing to Fen and Wolfie to, I guess, follow him.
Come on, Fonz.
Yeah.
Lead the way.
You've now got a little more confidence. It is starting to get also it's getting a little late in the day, so that it's getting on twilight here. That helps as you kind of move along through buildings. Again, big campus, weird architecture. Some of the buildings match, some of them don't. But eventually you'll make your way to the magical library. There is a set of doors in, and there is a front desk, and no one stops you when you go in. And you can just walk in, no problem. They don't even give you a second glance.
Ooh,
There's got to be books on this.
is there a librarian?
So there are a number of librarians there.
I think Wolfie has like a Disney princess moment where he's just spinning and there's all these books.
Yeah, the shelves that go up, and this is only a part of the library. You know, the several tiers and the ladders that are going up, the long tables, the absolute quiet, you know, the little magical candelabras on the tables, that kind of thing. Yeah.
If I might digress, I really wish that we lived in a Pratchett we had a Pratchett library where we could just say like, give me all your books on marble. And all the books would just come. But sadly, I don't think that's the case here.
But as I understand it, you're approaching then Talon, one of these librarians instead.
Yeah. Yeah, unless anyone stops me.
And
or
doing the
whatever.
same thing. Just give me all your books.
Well, not with that with such grand gesture, but
Oh,
very
yes.
innocuously asking, you know, hey, you
Librarian
got anything
books.
about marbles?
Is it marbles? Like what do you mean precisely?
Um,
What is your topic of research?
I will, if it's okay, I will use Arcana to sort of like identify the nature of the marble, like what it does actually.
Let us have you make a roll to see how specific you are. This will kind of determine the time invested here.
Yeah, cool. So what am I rolling?
Arcana.
Cool. All right. 1d20 plus 4. 13.
Oh, you wish details on the dormitory assignment and entry procedures, the marker marbles that are used for the school, for school records.
Yeah, and history and traditions as well of the use of these marbles throughout Strixhaven's existence.
This we can do. If you would go and settle yourselves over at the table, I will have the books brought to you.
Can I do an insight check and see if this is like
Sure.
entrapment?
Yeah. Let's have you roll insight, see what you think.
My great strength of insight 0.
Yeah.
Just what the DM ordered. It is a 15 actually.
This librarian, you have the sense, couldn't care less about you. Like, you matter not to them. They have a task, they're going to go do the task and bring it to you. Who you are, what you want, all of that. They've looked at you and then they've looked away and they've forgotten what you look like.
Fantastic. That's the best kind of customer service ever.
And yet Wolfie, have you ever been in a place with this many books before, or even a fraction like this? What do you think, Wolfie?
I think this like dwarfs the temple library, and that's pretty extensive. So,
and Fen, how is knowledge kept where you come from? Is it books? Is it scrolls? Is it some other system?
Yeah, I think it's some other system. So I think this is fascinating. And I say, Talon, I'll be back in a minute. I have to go see what they have on swamps and gases. And I just start wandering the library.
Okay. Fen, you lose line of sight on Fen with just a few strides, and he's gone into the stacks and starting to look and trying to figure out how is this organized. That's something you've never had to deal with, like this volume and different wings for different topics, and it's just wild.
It's not just alphabetic. Something else is going on here.
It's the LOS system. It's the library of Strixhaven coding. And Fonzie, what do you think?
I am trying to recall what edition of Fortigo's translation, the Draconicus Majesticus, Book 1, The Fires Which Burn, has the lewd illustrations.
Oh yeah, they keep those in the restricted wing. You know that there, but it exists most definitely.
All right, making a mental note of it.
After a little bit, Talon, a set of books are brought to you, laid down, and the librarian says, "I've chosen the first 5 most relevant. Should you require more, I will go and fetch another set for you."
Okay.
And they head off.
I would like to like do my own research since I'm comfortable in the library, but like take a religious bend, like curses and anything where one would get, identified, and then there would be, blackness. I don't know, something like that.
Okay, so you're starting to look and research in other various ways. I think that there is a montage of you and Fen trying to find your way through of finding books and looking at them, of finally breaking down and asking and being directed,
bumping into each other and being like, "Oh, there's nothing that way."
Yeah, then crossing paths.
Yep.
At one
I
point,
looked up some books.
like at one point, Fen is looking, and I'm on top of him, and I'm also looking.
And when they cut back to you, Fonzie, what do we see you doing?
I think
I'm gonna say
Let's do Fonzie, and then we're gonna come to you, Talon.
I think I've been assigned a book to flip through, because people don't really trust me to get through more than one of them. And instead of flipping through it, I'm looking to see if there's anybody else who is maybe reading another copy of it. Like, I'm trying to find somebody that can just go to be like, I have to take the exam on this book in a class today, and do you have notes? Can you give me a Cliff Note version?
So you're desperately checking to see if anyone else who's sitting here is reading this same obscure book on class.
It would save me so much time just to read it.
It would, but I think it is you spending time to desperately try to save yourself time. Talent, you will look through, and you will see these marbles have been used by the school. They are keyed to the individual student when they're given to them. They are used for identification. They're used for room keys, all of that kind of thing throughout the school. It developed a couple hundred years ago as a system. And you will see when it lists the colors of the marbles that it does list for the dormitories, that it does list that black marble is for the dormitory known as Darsksul. It is one of the 5 dormitories, but what you read in the thing was that one isn't being used this year.
And what do we know about Dark School?
I will.
Yeah, actually, it sounds like Dark School.
It is in our orientation letter.
Yes.
Wait, this fifth group is in our orientation letter?
Oh yeah, it's mentioned they just didn't have that dorm apparently open this year, is what it says in the orientation letter.
It says currently out of bounds.
It would be like Wolfie to miss that in his paranoia, in his mania.
The other thing you will realize when you're reading through this is that each of these marbles is keyed to you and can be used by the school to trace you.
Oh, I guess that's when the SWAT team drops down.
I think that's the point at which you'll look up and Mrs. Darkbow is standing at the end of the table. Mr. Talon, was it?
Yes.
Are your, let us call them compatriots? And then you see her stop and she looks and she goes, did you buy that sweater?
I cannot tell a lie.
That was not an answer to my question.
Yes, yes.
If you would gather the others and bring them here, I will take you to your dormitory.
We in trouble, Miss Dark.
She goes, and she says very deliberately, you are not in trouble.
Okay.
If you would gather your friends, bring them here, we will have this misunderstanding cleared up. And that
Guys.
way, I have your luggage already moved to the dormitory since you all left without it.
I think I start to come back at about this moment. I say, would you believe nobody in this library has read this stupid? Oh my gods.
I have already broken silence by going, God.
Don't, this is a library.
I think Wolfie and I are like peeking around some of the books.
Head bop, Scooby-Doo style.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think Fen like leans over and I'm over Fen because I'm standing on the stack.
Oh,
of
still
books
on the
that I had picked
shoulders.
out.
This was right after that scene.
Yeah, sounds good.
Alphonse, would you please come and sit?
I-
And then she'll look over to where you two are.
Full name. That's bad.
I kind of slump over there.
And she looks, she sees the scarf, she sees the other sweater, she sees the pants, she sees like, is that intended to be a disguise?
I mean, it got us into the library.
They don't stop people coming into the library.
Talon making the gesture that means no smart mouthing. Please.
The protections of the library are to preserve people from taking books out.
Oh.
I think Wolfie will say, they don't stop the people from coming into the library. How is
No.
this place not filled with students? Look at it. It's amazing.
Gonna die.
I hope that you've gotten your hijinks out of your system.
I'll hop off of Fen, and with your permission, Lowell, Ms. Darkbow says, like, Mr. Constantine, where are your pants?
What?
And at this point, Wolfie is just in a big sweater. He has no pants. They're awful. He can't breathe in them.
We'll worry about the pants situation later. If all of you would gather your things together and follow me, and I will take you to your dorm. And she will wait till you all stand up, and she will begin quietly walking out of the library and heading outside across the grounds. She makes no sound when she moves. I'm going to assume you follow.
Same as
Yes.
Nicholas said.
Alan, we had a signal. You were supposed to give the signal, and the signal wasn't, hey guys.
It's exactly the same look at Fonzie again. It just goes. And yes, I'm establishing that he's shorter than Fonzie now.
I like that. And I think we do kind of the cross cut to the four of you plus Mrs. Darkbow in front of this more dilapidated looking dorm. It clearly hasn't been used in a while. You can see that there are lights on inside. Clearly there are other students in there. And she will say, "This is your dormitory, Dark Sewell. Your bags are in the front hall. You may choose any rooms that you want on the first and second floor. You may have rooms to yourselves. I have been assigned as your house mother."
Can we all scream?
And
Well,
I think, yeah,
I forgot.
and I think as you all kind of start at that, the doors open. We can see some of the other students in there. They're cleaning cobwebs. They're sweeping the floors. There's dust in here and so on. And I think that's where we're going to leave off for today, is with that ending. And we'll take up with you settling in. Well, next time we're going to establish some of your fellow NPCs. I'm going to have everybody make up one or two, and we'll see what the place is like, and start seeing classes. Does that sound cool? Okay. So my plan is, advancement wise, we're going to do milestones. At the end of next session, we'll have you jump to level 3. So just so you know, that have that kind of in mind, that's what we're going to do. Does that sound cool with everybody? 2 more sort of maintenance things. If between now and next time you're like, oh, I want to change this, or I want to shift this, feel free to do that. And if you have any questions between now and next session, feel free to email me. Okay. All right. So that's our game. Stars and Wishes next time. And I will see all of you next Monday. Okay. Oh, I'm going to stop the recording.